Hi, everybody. So, a lot of you might actually know me. I'm basically English major with emphasis on comparative literature, and I basically am on Biblical History Skeptics with my friend Brian, and we are reading the Bible from start to finish. And then outside of that, I mostly engage in debates and live streams on a bunch of other channels. I've appeared on Aron Ross' channel and on Non Sequitur before the debacle, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, we have actually. Oh, yeah, Kent Hovind here.
Good evening, folks. Kent Hovind here and the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland in lovely Lenox, Alabama. Come join us. It's July 15th, 2019. If I had known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of
Yeah.
myself. Let's see. Hey, brother, are you there? Can you hear me okay? All right, let me put it on speakerphone. Let me finish my quick announcements, and then I'm going to have you share your thoughts on this topic tonight. Give me just about 2 minutes. Can you hang in there?
Did you create an audio input for your mic?
The Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and the evolution theory is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history.
Should be working now.
Bring a group down for DAL.
Sorry about that. Even more.
For a field trip.
More errors.
Teacher that we did the other day. It's posted now on the internet.
Alright, this is a little quiet. I'm going to turn it up.
Debate/discussion. I hope he does some more on that. This July, I'd like you to do me a favor. I want to really see the subscriptions go crazy. People subscribe to the channel.
So many technical difficulties.
Friends, any social media you're on, say, would you please go to Dr. Dino or go to Kent Hovind Official, subscribe, join our 7/7 Club, tell your friends about it, and get and copy all of our books. Get our videos and copy them, give them out to your friends. Okay. We have almost 140,000
Yeah,
subscribers
I
now.
can tell you, Kent, I'm not going to be sharing your videos.
So I gotta be honest, I kind of want to because I like to watch bad movies. And I have friends who like to watch bad movies, and oh my god, are some of his things bad. And I have friends who know how bad they are.
I mean, I am a little bit of a connoisseur of terrible films. I will admit that I do get major enjoyment out of watching the Kirk Cameron Left Behind series. It's quite amazing.
What about the Nick Cage Left Behind?
Oh, that's in a category of its own because it's Nicolas Cage and it's Left Behind, and arguably even worse than the Kirk Cameron ones, but made completely better by the fact that we have Nicolas Cage.
Well, yeah, I mean, Nicolas Cage is never the boring
Nicolas
part
Cage
of a movie.
Clearly is. Well, a Nicolas Cage who also is just clearly there purely to get a paycheck.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care at all about the Rapture or Armageddon or Jesus or any of that. All right, let's.
Oh no, and you can tell it by the tone in his voice. It's amazing.
At least he doesn't say, "No, not the bees." At least he doesn't say that.
Probably would have been better, honestly.
Maybe.
Help us stay open for free by going to the drdino.com.
You know this whole 777 Club thing? It was just made up because Kent was in a discussion with Aron, and he offhandedly remarked that he had 666 patrons, and then for some reason Kent got it into his head that that was like a club of 660 people or 666 people who were helping Aron Ra pay for all of his stuff, and Kent was like, well, I'll do one better and have a 777 club, gosh darn it. And yet all it really was Aron thought it was funny that at that time he happened to have 666 patrons.
Dr. Dino.
Wow.
Make any checks
Yeah.
to CSE, that's Creation Science Evangelism.
That's the entire history.
Okay. Mr. Nelson, the self-proclaimed atheist.
Who are you talking to on your phone,
By the way,
Kent?
I debated it 4 different times. A guy named Bernie Deller, atheist Bernie Deller, back in 2016. And I heard a rumor that he died today. I don't know. I haven't been able to confirm it. I hope not. If he did, I hope he got saved before he did. But anyway, Mr. Nelson said his point number 10, I'm going to talk about a little bit tonight and more tomorrow. He said the different cladistic categories of taxonomic classifications of life that prove that humans are apes and birds are dinosaurs are determined objectively. I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson, humans are not apes and birds are not dinosaurs.
So wait, I guess not gonna finish the rest of that. Just gonna go on there, Kent. Just skipping.
I mean, it's possible he's going to go on further into it. I'm not going to... We still have a while to go in the video. But I want to point out that my debate with Kent was specifically... The question was, are birds dinosaurs? Right? And I showed him all of the anatomical things that make a dinosaur. And then I showed how birds have every last single one of these anatomical traits. Right? And then, when he was flabbergasted by this, I asked Kent directly, Kent, if you found a skeleton in the rocks, and you were wondering, is this the skeleton of a dinosaur? How would you know? And this is the man who has been proclaiming himself as an expert in dinosaurs in the Bible for 20, 30 years, right? He said, well, gee, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I guess I would have to do some more research. It's like, I'm sorry, you don't know what a dinosaur is. You cannot say if something is or isn't a dinosaur until you can tell me what a dinosaur is. That's how it works.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he
couldn't even give like a 10-year-old's version of the answer, what is a dinosaur?
Well, at least he's not doing the whole if you let a chameleon grow really big, it's going to turn into a triceratops. At least he didn't do that.
I don't know, because he now owns a Jackson chameleon at his Dinosaur Adventureland, and I think that's the point of having one. Yeah, your face is exactly what you should be. That's exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought Ken Ham's Creation Museum was bad. Wow.
Oh, he's giving him a run for his money.
I've been there, and that was terrible. My 13-year-old self that was still creationist thought it was bad.
Nice.
All right. My.
Let's keep going a little bit.
In a phenomena about if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough and often enough, not only will the people believe it, you'll start to believe it yourself. You can convince yourself of a crazy idea that birds are dinosaurs. There aren't too many things quite that dumb. I mean, it's probably the top 10 of dumbness.
Oh, thanks, Kent.
Birds are dinosaurs. The Bible says in the last times they would be spirits. The spirits speak expressly. They'll be seducing spirits, speaking lies and hypocrisy. Tonight we're going to whack an atheist again with our favorite game around here. Birds are not dinosaurs.
Is that a threat?
Can we pause there?
Mr. Nelson?
Absolutely. Was that a threat of violence?
I love... Well, that... Kent's threats of violence are hardly veiled at this point, given the phone calls he made in prison.
Oh, yeah! What an idiot on that one.
They're hardly veiled anymore, so I wouldn't put it past him. But I just love how people decide to interpret the Book of Revelation. First of all, the Book of Revelation was written to people at a very specific time and was actually of the opinion that there was going to be a return of Nero, who is the Antichrist. Hence why the beast is consistently alluded to as being connected with Rome. such as the Seven Hills and all that
Right.
lovely thing.
Yeah, Seven Heads and the
All,
Seven
all the
Hills.
Yeah, well, and then the a bunch of other works that are also commonly connected with the beast, and then with also Revelation, are the series of oracles, which also make pretty explicit reference to Nero. And we know this also because we can look at the number of the beast, 666, and then there's another textual variant which is 616. Now, depending on what you went with, depended on the spelling of Caesar Nero.
Yeah.
All that it depended on whether or not you had the final noon, which in the gematria value was around 50. So basically, if you have 616, then it's Caesar Nero. If it's 666, it's Caesar Neron.
Oh, and
both
also,
of which are
oh, sorry, go ahead. No.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'm almost always more in Arabic mode than Greek or Hebrew mode. So every time I hear noon, I'm like, oh yeah, I know noon. And like, oh wait, no, it's the other one. It's the same letter but Hebrew.
Yeah.
Because my Arabic
Right.
is not great, but it's significantly better than my Hebrew.
Yeah, I have the opposite. My Hebrew's much better than my Arabic. My Arabic is terrible.
Well,
But
I mean, my Arabic isn't all that much better than that either, but it's still better than my Hebrew.
But yeah, it's interesting because the value of the number of the beast is always consistent with the variant spellings of Nero's name.
Okay.
Then and all the elements that are commonly connected with the beast and with his symbolism all are indicating Rome and Nero.
And I mean, if you were a first or second century Christian, I can see why you would think of Nero as like the ultimate bad guy.
Well, yeah, and there's two reasons. Because of his persecution of Christians actively after the fire of Rome, and he used them as scapegoats. Yep. And then also because after Nero died, there were traditions going around about what happened to him. Some say he died. Some say that he didn't die though, and that he went into exile. And we have several records of people attempting to come back to Rome claiming to be Nero.
Nice.
One of which actually started an entire rebellion over.
I mean, of the emperors to claim to be, not the first choice that I would make. One of the most hated emperors on all sides.
Oh yeah, it's quite remarkable. But basically it was that really would have played into early Christian fears, a returning Nero, i.e. the beast. So the fact that Christians are still trying to reinterpret this for today, like I get maybe trying to reinterpret some of the message of it for today, but trying to be like, oh yeah, the apocalypse is meant to be happening soon, and we're all in the end times. I'm like, no. This book was of the opinion that the end times were in the late first, second, and early second century AD, not now.
Yeah.
Stop trying to do your retrofitting.
Apparently, I'm a bit quiet. I'm going to try and speak up for the chat. Sorry about that. This is not my normal streaming setup that I have. I'm stuck in a hotel, so I'm sorry. It's not going to be as high quality as it usually is. Sorry, that was just from the chat. They were like, "Oh, hey, you're quiet." But yeah, I agree. The more easy to make.
I call it retroactive reading.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned something about offline where there is a significant Christian group that uses the Septuagint as their general Old Testament text. That same group actually has no liturgical readings from Revelation. Not one.
Oh yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
It's included in copies of the Bible that they publish, and if you read works on theology or whatever, they sometimes reference it. But Eastern Christians don't actually include it anywhere in their liturgical readings because specifically because people make up crazy stuff about it, and they don't want to encourage that because it seems like a bad idea. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's true. Look at all the craziness that comes out of American Protestantism about the Book of Revelation.
And it's like only from Protestants too, and it's really funny that it's only from Protestants, given that basically the voice that started quote unquote the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther, wanted it removed from the canon.
Oh, to the average American Protestant, Martin Luther would basically still be Catholic. I mean, he had an extremely high opinion of the Virgin Mary. The Eucharist.
Oh yeah,
he was a big fan of liturgy. I mean, the modern
he didn't
American
even really want to start a coup in the church. Honestly,
no, he didn't.
He had no intention of starting a coup. He just wanted there to be a reform in theology.
Yeah, and so to the average Protestant in America, I think Martin Luther would be a very foreign character. I don't think they would recognize him as one of their own.
Well, yeah, it's funny they do, just so that they can go anti-Catholic, but they have most Protestant... I mean, let's be completely honest, when we talk about most of America, at least the United States in general, most people don't have a literacy rate above an eighth grader. The average, they only have a functioning vocabulary between 3,000 and 8,000 words. They averagely have not actually read the Bible, and they most certainly haven't read anything comprehensive about Martin Luther.
Oh yeah.
So they'll idolize him, but they have no idea what he actually even talked about. Most of them probably wouldn't even know that he was a raging anti-Semite.
Well, I mean, it's hard to find a European who wasn't also Jewish at the time.
Well, true.
I think we should continue on a little bit though.
In your closing comment there, you said that, and like I told you, Mr. Nelson, I'll be back. And
I kind of wish he'd used the actual Arnold audio.
Adolf Hitler said,
"Oh, right into Godwin's law! Holy crap!"
A big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed.
We're 3 minutes in, and we're already in Godwin's law.
German. I don't know how to say that in German.
Also, by the way, Kent, that wasn't actually Hitler. That was his propaganda minister who said that. So, wrong again. And actually, he said it, well, he actually didn't even say it. He said that the British, when they lie big and repeatedly. He wasn't even talking about advice. He was talking about his opinion of the British news media, basically, at the time. So it's double wrong. And we're already in Godwin's law. Way to start out strong.
I can guarantee that he has never actually read Mein Kampf.
Oh, I mean...
I can guarantee it.
Nope, I very much doubt it. Although I do wonder. So, literally, if that book gets translated into Arabic, it comes out as jihadi. I wonder if it's ever been translated.
I mean, there's probably one floating around, but it's probably not from...
Hey.
It's probably not promoted with any desire.
So, odd bit of trivia, there was an all-Muslim Waffen-SS division that only the officers were Germans, and all of the enlisted in this division of the Waffen-SS were actually Muslims. Mostly from Turkey.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a little
Hitler
odd
was actually able to make... Yeah, he was actually able to make quite a few allies over there, mostly based off of the past Allied connections between Germany and the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, and shared anti-Semitism didn't hurt either.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's enough of talk about Hitler from me. Let's hear more about Hitler from Kent.
German, but propaganda technique and a logical trick, a fallacy. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book, Mein Kampf, about the use of a lie so colossal that no one would believe that someone would have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously.
That sounds exactly like Kent.
You tell a lie that is so huge, people think, well, he can't possibly be lying. Nobody would tell that big of a lie.
You mean like the Earth is
idea that
6,000 years
birds
old?
are dinosaurs fits into this category.
Okay.
Hitler's rules were: never allow the public to cool off, never admit a fault or wrong, never concede there may be some good in your enemy.
Okay, I just had to point out, never can admit a fault or wrong. The scientific community does that almost constantly.
And notice that his conception of Hitler's psychological profile is very similar to Kent's.
I mean, yeah, never
allow the public to cool off, never admit fault or wrong,
It's true.
never concede that there may have been some good in your enemy. He's very good about that one, not having any concept of charity.
Yeah.
Never leave room for alternatives. There we go. And never accept blame. Those are all like quintessential Kent Hovind moves.
It's true,
I
especially.
mean, those basically summed up his indictments.
Oh, by the way, Maya Adkison, sorry if I mispronounced that. She said that you were being very generous with your 8th grade reading level, and yeah. And Maya comes in on a lot of my live streams, and I always appreciate her comments. She usually has some pretty good ones. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, one of the things I noticed about Kent's audience, but not Kent himself, is that there were two, like, sections of them. One section was actually giving me, like, compliments and saying, oh, you know, I may not agree with this Tim guy, but he was well-spoken, and he was clearly intelligent, and he knew the material, and, you know, I appreciate that. But then there was another section of his audience, and they were like, oh, this guy was a freaking idiot. He didn't even answer these questions. And I was like, well, I just find it interesting what that there's this big dichotomy between some of his audience was really polite and complimentary towards me, and then the other part was just like, did you even watch the debate, guys? Because I did, and I don't see what you're getting at here. So I feel like Kent attracts both people like himself and also people who just are biased towards his ideas, but are who actually, you know, like good, decent people. And those are the kind of people that I would like to say, hey, maybe look into this farther and see if Kent is actually right and get away from that. But I don't know. I'll complain for a bit.
Never leave room for alternatives. Never accept the blame. Concentrate on one enemy at a time and blame him for everything that goes wrong.
Oh, you mean like evolution, Kent?
People will believe a big lie sooner than a little one. If you tell a lie long enough and loud enough and often enough, the people will believe it. They're more likely to believe a big lie than a little one. So there's a phenomenon. Here it is on Wikipedia. The illusory truth effect. Illusory truth, also known as the validity effect. So, brother, you've been in the field of studying how people think and why they do what they do.
He didn't even talk about...
Like to share.
About what? Oh, are you at a loss for words as to how bad it is? Okay, I'll go on.
About yourself and
boy.
your business, and then about this illusory effect of how people believe their own lie after a while. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, I'm glad you had me on, Brother Ken. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's generally called, and by the way, my doctorates are in theology, biblical counseling, and psychology.
So nothing to do with this topic.
It's generally called the illusion of truth, is what it's more commonly known as these days. And essentially what it states is repetition makes a subjective fact, like dinosaurs turned into birds, seem more true, regardless of whether they're true or not.
Okay, I have to make a point. There are... birds are dinosaurs, and birds turned into dinosaurs are not the same claim. They're related claims, because if birds turned into dinosaurs is true, then if dinosaurs turned into birds is true, then birds are dinosaurs. But birds can be dinosaurs without evolution being true. Because you got to remember that when Carolus Linnaeus came up with the idea of taxonomy for living creatures, he was a special creationist of a type that even Kent would find extreme. Because he didn't think that there could be any change from one species to another, any speciation like that. He thought that as many species as there were is how many God created at the beginning, or whenever he created them, if you're, like a progressive creationist, like a lot of the paleontologists of the 19th century were. But he still recognized that animals belonged in certain groups because of shared characteristics, whole suites of them, that they didn't share with any other group, right? So Carolus Linnaeus didn't know what a dinosaur was, and the recognition that birds share all of the synapomorphies of Dinosauria as a group is a fairly recent one, but that's still a fact of anatomy, whether or not evolution is true. And I know that Kent thinks that groups like birds and mammals are actual groups that really exist because he's said as much, including to me specifically about birds. So it doesn't matter if special creation is true or not. Birds can still be dinosaurs without dinosaurs having turned into birds. So lumping these two claims together is extremely dishonest.
Yeah, he fails to recognize the system of classification that we're using.
Right.
That classification will hold up no matter what side ends up turning out to be true.
Right. Because even if special creation is true, then what that means is God had to create organisms in an objectively verifiable nested hierarchy. Because you can go into the real world and physically observe a nested hierarchy. So I don't care if there was evolution or not. The platypus and the whale and the kangaroo and the human are all mammals. And the Allosaurus and the Stegosaurus and the Caudipteryx and the Corvus, aka the crow, are all frickin' dinosaurs, Kent. Sorry you don't like it, but here we go. Let's get more.
Nothing to do with it. And it's not just used by the Nazis. It's been used by all sorts of organizations and clubs and governments throughout history.
And cults.
Cults.
And cults, a lot of cults use it. Virtually all the top cults these days use this. Whether or not it's true.
Do you know what he's talking about there? With the cults?
Outside my area of expertise, unfortunately. So I'm
we should have had Telltale.
I don't know enough to have an opinion.
I should have invited Telltale too. He would know, but whatever. We'll keep going.
And understanding that this effect will actually help you to determine truth. If you're looking to find out if someone's lying, these types of things will determine it. And you said it spot on. The bigger the lie, the easier it is to get people to believe that type of propaganda. The study, if anybody's interested, was done by a psychologist named Tom Stafford, who actually did several years of study on this. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. I mean, that's just how they view it. The more you can lay on the propaganda, the better it goes. And Joseph, I think his name is Goebbels, Goebel,
right,
was one of the lieutenants for Hitler. He's the one that really hammered that home. Among psychologists these days, like I said, it's known as the illusion of truth, but it is an illusion. It goes something like this, very briefly. A dried plum is a plum, which we know that to be true. They did case studies like this. You could test people on this, and this is what they did. You give them a dried plum.
I just want to point out that the question of are birds dinosaurs is a taxonomic question, right? And we're focusing currently on psychology. That's like asking a question about like the chemical composition of styrofoam, and what we're going to concentrate on is the anatomy of the hand. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't care how you can psychologically trick anyone into anything. There's biology to be done here, Kent. Are you ever going to do it? I guess not.
Is a prune. Comes from a plum. You can say to people, for the same period of time, a fig is actually a dried apricot. And if you say it enough to the people, and then retest them 2 weeks later. They will repeat what you've said to them.
Yeah,
Wow.
but then you can go to the
fact, their own fact,
the fig factory and check it out. So are you going to go to the factory and check out whether birds are dinosaurs, Ken?
Even everybody knows apricots and fig are very different pieces of fruit.
I guess figs don't come from factories, but you know what I mean.
And they will buy it. One of the things that
I mean,
really
let's be
funny
honest here. Kent's not going to go anywhere. He can't get out of the ankle monitor.
While the truth is still putting on its shoes.
Right.
People are far more willing to believe a lie, especially if it's a really big whopper, it seems, like evolution, if you tell it loud enough and long
So much projection.
and that's the way the propaganda
Just
machine works.
so much projection.
Psychology behind being able to get away with stuff like that, and often many of the cults do that.
Now, I've often said people.
This is probably one of those counselors
like this
that
evolution
Shannon
lie
Q
for
would lose
more
for
reasons than the
absolute
fact that
shit
it's been
on.
told a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They like the freedom it gives them
Absolutely.
from God. This particular lie they love it.
I really liked her appearance on the last Vice Rhino video. Did you see that?
Have to face
Yeah.
the idea
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was really good.
it's true.
I didn't like her last appearance on Red's Rhetoric's live stream, but, no, you know.
They can't control those kind of things.
We shouldn't get too far into that.
Control is terrifying.
Yeah, that's a different stream.
Most people feel like they would have to give up too much of what they enjoy to become a Christian, and that's
Right.
definitely not true, but that's what they've been taught. And why is it that every time you see a movie, the Christians are always the bad guys?
Right.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did he just say that whenever you see a movie, they're always the bad guys? Christians are always the bad guys?
What movies have they been watching? Hunchback of Notre Dame? Okay, sure.
I guess.
Les Mis, definitely you can make a case for that.
Yeah.
To some extent. I mean, there's the good... It's
There's a
actually
good
funny
priest.
because Victor Hugo wrote... Yeah, the priest at the beginning is a good guy, and it's funny because Victor Hugo wrote that priest as a satire of priests. Basically making him a warm-hearted and good person. Was his idea of a satire of priests.
Well, I feel like that doesn't come across in the movie, so...
No, yeah, the satire is completely lost, but
Well, I think part of that is that
in the movie,
a
I mean,
lot of priests actually are warm-hearted individuals who are charitable in the real world. Like, not the televangelist type people, but if you actually go to, like, you know, some local, you know, Catholic or Anglican or Orthodox parish, and you talk to the priest there, he probably is actually a pretty nice guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was more a comment. Les Mis was more a commentary on 19th century Catholicism in France.
Yeah, which is pretty alien to modern times. Or I guess I should say current times,
but,
since 19th century was definitely modern, but...
Right. But I'm just trying to think of stuff where Christians are bad guys. I mean, arguably, what's his name? I can't even remember. The guy going after him in Les Mis. He's a devout Christian with a devout Christian ethic in the tale.
So we got to. I guess you could argue that the crazy albino guy in the Da Vinci Code. There's one.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely supposed to be very, very Catholic. But yeah, I feel like in most movies, the religious
Christians are good guys.
Well, they're either good guys or the religious leanings of most of the characters simply aren't at issue. Like, okay, Die Hard. How many characters in there are Christian? Somewhere between all and none.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you know? You just don't. I mean, even pick say we pick a more recent movie, Avatar. Okay, we can safely assume that none of the blue aliens are Christians. How many of the humans are Christians? Somewhere between all and none.
None.
I mean,
or
Alien. How many of those humans were Christians? Somewhere between all and none.
All and none.
Yeah,
like
that's almost every movie.
I mean, that's basically almost every one. I mean, the only time that it really comes like a point of focus is a Christian-oriented film.
Yeah, in which case they're almost always the good guys. And atheists are
Right.
comically absurd versions of bad guys. Like,
Right.
there was that movie where Kevin Sorbo was an atheist professor, despite Kevin Sorbo himself being a Christian. And, like, he was, like,
Yeah,
the most...
God's not dead.
Yeah, he was the most comically absurd version of a maniacal evil atheist. He was like, ha 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 ha, I'm going to reduce all of their faith to nothing, sips wine. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo basically revived that role, ironically,
Oh, that's a shit.
in Let There Be Light, where he basically plays Richard Dawkins if Richard Dawkins had actually less taste than he already does.
Yeah, so there's something I said to Steve a while back, and I said, I feel like both Dawkins and Aron Ra are really, really, really good at their particular field, but when they try to step outside, they kind of fall apart. Like, Dawkins on philosophy is just trash. I don't care if you agree or disagree with him. He makes bad arguments when it comes to philosophy.
Oh, I consider Richard Dawkins to be absolute trash.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you look at his biology work, right? Like, I just not that long ago read The Greatest Show on Earth, which is just about Evo Devo. Absolutely amazing book. Everyone should read it. It is highly rated. But then you go read, like, God is not great, and it's just like, what are you doing, Dawkins? Why are you bothering? This is just trash.
That was Christopher Hitchens.
Oh,
God's not great.
No, what am I thinking?
Dawkins was the God Delusion.
Oh, the God. Yeah, I get those two mixed up for some reason. Probably because they both basically had the same idea.
Yeah, they're both equally terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
I have no patience for the only one of the four horsemen that I honestly ever cared for was Daniel Dennett, and that was just because he was a philosopher and actually qualified to talk on it. And even then, I didn't consider his arguments that good.
There are some things I agree with Harris on, like when he says there is a religion of peace. It's Jainism. Yeah, no, he's right about that. And when he says things like the idea that Islam is as peaceful or more peaceful than most other religions is absolutely absurd. No, he's right about that. Islam is especially violent. Sam Harris at least has a pretty good finger on the pulse of which religions are actually the ones that are causing more problems and which are the ones that really aren't causing problems. And yeah, Islam is causing a whole lot of problems. Christianity, some problems. It varies based on denomination. Jainism, like, no problems.
Yeah, Christianity is definitely causing a problem overseas.
Well, again,
it's a big problem.
There are problems, and again, of course, one of the problems is that Christianity has an especially wide spectrum of belief and practice.
Yeah.
Wider, I think, than most religions. And so I always have trouble talking about Christianity as a whole. Because, like, Kent here is extremely different from, say, like, the Archbishop of Canterbury or the Pope or, I don't know, the Patriarch of Moscow. Like, these are all extremely different people with extremely different views and extremely different practices. So to a degree that I don't think you get in most other religions. But I think we should probably...
I don't... Yeah, we should move on. But I agree, I don't like... I try my best to avoid generalistic categorization, especially of religion.
All right, here we go,
Anthropologically, it just isn't sound.
Well, yeah. Here we go, Kent.
Many of your viewers know Christians if they aren't a Christian themselves. Do they really think that all Christians are bad guys like they are in the movies? Of course not. They don't really.
All right, I don't reveal my personal religious beliefs on this channel, but Chris, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you are not a believing Christian.
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all.
Do you think all Christians are the bad guys?
No.
Okay.
I would say the vast majority are not.
Okay, but some of them are. And I think most Christians would agree that some Christians are the bad guys. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. But, why would anyone think that? I've never met an atheist or an agnostic or even just a non-Christian who thought that all Christians were terrible. Now, I have met some Christians
I've
who
met
thought...
a few.
Have you really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have met a few extreme anti-theists,
Okay.
but they're far and few in between for the most part.
Yeah, okay, I guess I might have met someone who thought that, but I didn't know about it. I've never met someone who I knew thought all Christians were the bad guys. It seems like an extreme minority opinion amongst any group. But keep going, guy on the phone.
But they're willing to say those things or buy those things because it makes the lie easier to swallow. Evolution is a big lie to swallow.
It is.
And
Now, brother, you've done a whole lot of...
If you don't believe that, all you have to do is look into it and you see how people respond. But one time I responded to something Bill Nye said, and I had people commenting and jumping all over it because it would be like, you know, making fun of a Catholic priest to a Catholic, or, you know, the Pope or something, the way they acted. But I think Richard Dawkins is the Pope of evolution, don't you?
Right, oh yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, so let's go over what's important about being the Pope. Okay, so from the earliest point in history that we can identify something as being the Pope of Rome, the most important thing is that he had some kind of pastoral duty to the entire Christian church, right? He was there to advise all of the bishops. So I'm going to go ahead with my, knowledge of Christian history, tracing through some time here. Okay. Does Richard Dawkins feel like he has some kind of duty over the morals and teachings of everyone who accepts evolution? Is there any evidence of that at all?
Nope.
Nope, I don't think so either. And again, I'm not the biggest Dawkins fan. I think he's trashed on a lot of stuff he says. He's absolutely terrible. Okay. Is there any evidence? So we go a step farther and we say that, okay, now the Pope of Rome is going to claim that he has a moral authority and the authority to choose who is in fact in charge in every church in the world. Is Dawkins on every single biology PhD board? Because if he is, that's news to me. I don't know how he manages it. I mean, have you ever heard of him being on every single PhD board for all biology? I'm pretty sure he's not.
No.
No.
I'm not sure if he's on any. To my knowledge.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
I'm
he
not
wrote
even
a
sure
few.
he is at Oxford.
He might be. It wouldn't shock me, but I don't know that he is. And
It wouldn't shock me, but I'm not aware of any.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any him training any.
Yeah,
currently.
And he's definitely not on every single PhD board. Right? Like that's a fact. That not every single biologist has to answer to Dawkins to get their PhD, right? I mean, I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
we haven't gotten that far. So let's get all the way up to Vatican II, right? Where the Pope has the power to proclaim dogma ex cathedra. So, do things in evolutionary biology become true because Dawkins says they're true? Is he ever cited as simply the word of the almighty evolution?
Arguably, you could only make that case with a bunch of illiterate laymen. But occasionally, they almost go that line, but not by any academic anywhere.
Okay. So, in what way is Dawkins like the Pope of evolution?
No way.
Yeah,
none.
That's the conclusion I would come to.
The only thing you could come close to is that a ton of people herald him as this great ideological thinker. I think I'd be like the most generalistic comparison you could possibly make, though.
But the thing is that that's actually not anything to do with what makes the Pope in modern Catholicism.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm just saying, like, being generous, the most possible the most possible parallel you could possibly gather would basically be in the amount of reverence people have for the figure.
Okay, maybe.
But they have reverence for completely different reasons.
Right. Well, let's see what happens if we continue on.
Definitely one of the high bishops or pope or something. Brother, you've counseled who knows how many hundreds of couples going through marital
What does
problems.
counsel coupling
How
have
many-
to do with any of
Does
this?
apply with, the husband or wife starts to really believe something or say something bad about the partner, and pretty soon they start to believe it, and it becomes the illusory truth or the illusion of truth, and that affects your judgment.
Oh, I know exactly what this has to do. I know exactly where this is going, and it's going with his ex-partners now. Because his ex-partners badmouth him about how he's abused and mistreated them.
Apparently, so has his son, who got taken away from his custody. I don't know if you heard about that, but
Yeah.
I haven't super confirmed this, but from what I can tell, Kent has two sons, Eric and the other son, who he doesn't talk about, who was taken from his custody because of abuse and lack of Kent not giving him medical treatment for his disability. And he had to go and live with relatives.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
I had not ever heard of this.
Yeah, and I mean, Kent also admits to beating Eric to the point that he's terrified of moving in a dentist chair. Where he said...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He loves that story.
Yeah, he's so proud of that story. It's like, I'm sorry, you beat your young child to the point where they were so terrified they couldn't physically move? That doesn't sound like a good parent to me. I don't know. And I'm not someone who says there's never a good time to hit your kid, because you know what? I think that on occasion, if like your kid's about to touch the hot stove or something, sure, slap their hand. That's fine. Because you know what? That slapped hand is going to be less of a problem than an actual burned hand. Okay, so I'm not an extremist on this one, but I don't think that even most people who are okay with general spanking would be okay with, oh yeah, you just beat your son into a terrified stupor. But anyway, let's keep going on this one. We'll talk about Kent Hovind as a father is a slightly different topic.
Excellent question, because that does happen. Say a spouse has cheated. A husband has cheated on his faithful wife or something. If he doesn't want to live with that guilt or that conviction, eventually he'll say, well, hasn't everybody lusted after somebody, so therefore she's cheated also. Or they'll say, well, I think she's cheated also, and then he'll start telling his friends that, and then the next thing you know, he's believing that she actually may have cheated on him. He actually gets angry at her for something that he made up in the first place.
Right. All right, well...
Okay, that seems like a thing that might happen.
That dinosaurs turned into birds. I can't think of very many things...
Now we finally get back to topic.
Right, yeah, that's... Kent, we're almost halfway through this video, and you haven't even talked about birds yet.
It started really in 1990 when they started really pushing that, and I'm just shocked that people are dumb enough.
That's probably when it started entering the public consciousness.
I guess people will believe anything if you tell them long enough, won't they?
Well, I mean, you and I were laughing, joking about an article that I had seen about 6 or 7 months ago that said that octopus were actually outer space aliens.
Okay, I read this article. It did not say that octopus or octopodus or octopi or whatever frickin' plural you want, pedants out there, were actually aliens. It said that they were extremely different from humans and other mammals, despite displaying a level of intelligence that's hard to find outside of mammals, and that they could be a reasonable analog for the kinds of ways that intelligence could develop off of Earth. Which is not so crazy, right? This is a creature with very limited connection to humans, biologically speaking, even if we ignore evolution. Like, there are so few connections between the anatomy of a squid or an octopus and the anatomy of a human that essentially you can just assume that they developed everything independently. Maybe not neurons in particular, but certainly the brain itself was developed independently. And so they serve as an interesting analog as to how intelligence can arise in completely separate lineages. So the idea was not that octopi or octopodus or whatever actually came from outer space. No one thinks that. They're mollusks. Everyone knows they're mollusks. Mollusks are protostome, bilaterian animals. They fit entirely within the terrestrial taxonomy or cladistic scheme. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Came from, flew in on a rock from a different planet. So, you had 33 people who supposedly were scientists that wanted to believe that one.
Octopus flew in on a rock from another planet.
No one thought that.
Wow.
Yeah, they were aliens. Yeah, that's why they're so odd and so different.
I see. You'd have to have help to be that stupid.
You would have to have help to be that stupid, Kent. You're the person who's helping people be that stupid.
Skateboard, you might think that was from a different planet too, I suppose.
Yeah, my ancestor.
Skateboards are from a different...
Thank you so much. I'll call you later on, catch up on stuff.
I haven't had nearly enough of this whiskey.
You've been a blessing. It's amazing studying the human...
By the way, not sponsored at all, but go try some Knob Creek Smoked Maple Straight Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey, 90 proof. It's pretty good if you're watching Kent Hovind because it tastes like maple, but not too sweet, and also it gets you drunk.
Mind, people will actually
I'm a Smirnoff vodka man myself.
That just tastes like nothing.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
You're the only person I can find that is like, yeah, it doesn't taste like anything. Apparently, I guess we must be dulled to alcohol.
Well, I was in the Navy. So, if I'm dulled to anything, it's alcohol. But a little bit more Kent, here we go.
Scary place.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, brother. Call in anytime.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, God bless. Bye.
All right. Well, the effect, the illusion, you tell it long enough and loud enough. When truth is assessed, people rely on whether information is in line with their understanding or if it feels familiar. This is the thing. I've heard that before. It must be true. So we tell the kids in kindergarten, birds are dinosaurs. Then you tell them in first grade and second grade. By the time they've heard it about 8 or 10 or 15 times, they think it must be true because I've
Prove they're not, Kent.
heard it all my life. This is the illusion of truth. Now, we're not going to get into tonight all the biology and anatomy.
I'm sorry, we're not going to get into all the biology and anatomy tonight, Kent? That is the only thing that matters about this question. Literally, nothing else about this question is pertinent at all.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, this is worse than I thought. I thought he was just going to lie about bird anatomy or something. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Between dinosaurs and birds that prove this is absolutely stupid to believe such a dumb thing. But I'm going to show how people can believe it because it's taught over and over. The first condition is logical.
I have to say, I take this as an admission that Kent knows he's wrong. Because if he thought he was right about this, he would give the reasons he thinks he's right.
I think he thinks that... I honestly think he thinks that he's right, and I think that he thinks this is a good argument, too. I think he's that delusional.
See, I'm not sure. I've gone back and forth in my brain about how honest Kent is. And right now, for the last... honestly, since I talked to him for the debate, I've been leaning towards dishonest. And here's one of the reasons why. When I talked to Kent on the phone to set up the debate in the first place, and he went through a lot of his whole spiel in there, and I didn't engage too much because I didn't want to have the debate on the phone with no one listening. But one of the things he went with was the whole, his argumentum ad baculum about you're going to die one day, or do you believe in Jesus? And I gave him my honest answer, which I don't divulge on this channel. And I told him before I did, I will give you this answer about my religious views on one condition, that you agree not to bring up the topic during the debate. He agreed and asked that I remind him before, on the day of the debate, before we went on air. And I said, yeah, that's fine, because, not everyone can remember everything. And then I answered his question about my religious views honestly. And then in the debate, after I told him before we went on air, again, about his agreement, he went this route anyway. And that's when I stopped giving Kent Hovind the benefit of the doubt about honesty. Because I twice specifically said, the only reason you're getting this honest answer out of me is if you agree to not bring up this topic in the debate. And twice, he heard it twice, including on the day of the debate, minutes before the debate, went there anyway. So I'm done giving Kent Hovind the benefit of the doubt in terms of, oh, he's just honestly mistaken. Nope.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you. He's a dishonest piece of crap. I'm totally on board with you. I just think that in this case, I think he is legitimately I think he's delusional on top of his dishonesty. They go hand in hand with his narcissism.
Oh, I mean, he definitely seems narcissistic to almost everyone who looks at him. But then again, I'm not a psychologist, and if you want a diagnosis, go see your own doctor. But let's see what else he has to say.
As people compare new information with what they already know to be true. Repetition makes statements easier to process relative to new, unrepeated statements, leading people to believe that the repeated conclusion is more truthful. Has to be true. I've heard it all my life. The illusory effect,
I actually don't super disagree with his psychology here. He's probably approximately
in which
right.
The recollection of confidence is skewed after the truth has been received. So Mr. Nelson, I'm sure, really believes birds are dinosaurs. I don't question the fact that he believes that. I just want to point out he's been a victim of this effect where he's heard that and heard that and heard that and heard that, and he fell for it.
Kent, that is the begging the question fallacy. You are asserting that he has believed this because it's been repeated and repeated and repeated, and it's a lie. But that requires you to establish that it's a lie, which requires you to go into the biology that you said you're not going to go into. That is the whole thing. There is literally nothing but the biology to this question. And I know that you failed miserably when you had the discussion with me. It's why I'm considering calling you again tomorrow and saying, hey, let's set up a debate and have it air on the Modern Day Debate channel, because I just sent a friend request on Facebook to James, and he was happy to hear from me, and James seems like a great guy, and I want to promote his channel. So, yeah, that's me saying, hey, there might be another me and Kent Hovind debate on that great debate community, or not the great debate community, the Modern Day Debate.
Modern Day Debate.
Yeah, which is a channel I'm a really big fan of. I'm probably going to add it to the description of this. You should all go subscribe because I think they have interesting debates. And I honestly think that James, who runs the channel, is a genuinely good guy, even if he and I disagree on some things. So that's me putting that out there.
Yeah, I love James. He's hosted a number of my debates.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. You can't really go wrong with it.
Yeah, I think he's fair. I think he's honest. He's super friendly. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about James. He and I would probably disagree on some things, but you know what? That's okay. I like a lot of people I disagree with. So, yeah, I'm definitely now gonna put that link in the description after this stream ends. So, check him out. Here we go, more Kent.
Hook, line, and sinker. In a 2015 study, researchers discovered that familiarity can overpower rationality, and that repetitively hearing that a certain fact is wrong can affect the hearer's beliefs. Researchers attributed the illusory truth effect's impact on participants who knew the correct answer to begin with, but were persuaded to believe otherwise through the repetition of a falsehood. Processing fluency. So you just keep telling them over and over again, and they'll believe it. So, want to make a lie seem true?
I mean, I have no doubt that what he's saying here isn't true on this regard. But he still hasn't established that birds are not dinosaurs.
No, he hasn't, and that's why I muted him, because He's just saying more about psychology, and I don't disagree a lot about psychology, but let's see what he's saying now.
Somebody teaching you this over and over and over again. This is an illusion. You've been lied to. Humans are not apes and birds are not dinosaurs.
Then if humans aren't apes and birds aren't dinosaurs, it should be trivial to demonstrate that through anatomy, right? Like, okay, ape is a category of primate, right?
Right.
And I don't remember exactly every single last diagnostic criteria, but I remember a few, right? Okay, so apes are primates with no tail. That's important. You gotta have no tail. I don't have a tail. Okay. Well, apes are also primates with tricuspid molars. I got those. My dentist assures me I do. And if you don't have yours, it's not because you didn't grow them, it's because someone pulled them. Okay, let's see. Apes have... I mean, those are actually two of the biggest categories, but there's a few other, like adaptation for brachiation, which involves extreme flexibility in the shoulder joint, which... yeah. Oh, by the way, here I am giving away that I'm not actually a dinosaur. I'm sorry. Oops. Ignore everything you've heard. And Chris, you have extreme flexibility in your shoulder muscles, right? In your shoulder joints?
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. You got that. Okay. A greatly enlarged cranial capacity compared to other primates. You sure as hell got that.
Oh yeah, my head is super inflated, guys.
Kent definitely has that in spades. So, let's see. What are some other characters?
I think he's got the inflated cranial capacity, but unfortunately the brain is probably only the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex's.
Actually, I recently handled a T-Rex brain endocast that had been 3D printed, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, okay, so humans have the characteristics of apes if they're primates, but how do we know they're primates? Well, let's see. Or no, there's one more for apes. Significantly lower hair follicle density and thinner hair than is typical for mammals. Well, humans have that in spades.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm a Mexican hairless myself.
Well, except for that wonderful head of hair that you've got. You got that going on.
Well, yeah, except for that.
Okay, so are humans primates? Well, let's see. Are we hind leg dominant? Because that's a big part of being a primate. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
Humans are hind leg dominant. Do they have enclosed orbits, where the whole orbit is surrounded by a circle of bone? Yeah?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Do they have grasping hands?
Yes.
Okay. Are they plantargrade? Which means they work on the heel and the toes instead of just the toes?
Yes.
Okay.
Except my dad. My dad is only toes.
Well, that's not the typical for humans, so let's we'll take your dad as a weird exception.
The exception that proves the rule.
Right. The fact that he's weird about that is why it's the rule. Okay. Let's see. Primates are a kind of mammal. Are humans? Do they have a dentary squamosal jaw joint?
Yes.
They do. You're right. Let's see. Do they have heterodont teeth, where the teeth have different shapes based on where they are in the mouth?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Are they warm-blooded?
Yep.
Do they have one or fewer temporal fenestrae? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Do they have a distinction between thoracic and lumbar vertebrae?
Yeah. Big
Huh.
distinction.
Yeah. Let's see. Do humans possess mammary glands?
Yep. Even some males, fun fact.
Actually, all males possess mammary glands. They just usually don't get enough prolactin to activate them. But if someone injected
Yeah.
you with a bunch of prolactin, you would totally start lactating. I promise. It's definitely a thing that happens.
Good to know.
Yeah, all it takes is enough prolactin, and any mammal will start lactating, male or female. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that humans are mammals and primates, and specifically apes, because they have every last single biological characteristic that makes them those things, Kent, which you're not even going to address because you can't. Oh, I have him muted still.
Father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, If ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father.
That sounds so
Then said
awkward
they to
in
him,
modern
We be not
times.
born
I
of
get in the
fornication. We have one Father, even
1600s that
God.
wasn't so weird,
Jesus said
but
unto them,
stop using
If
the
God were
KJV,
your
Kent.
Father, ye would love me.
It's not a very good
For
translation.
I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there's no truth in him.
Wait, hold on.
When he speaketh,
Okay, isn't ye the dative / accusative case form of the second person plural? And you is the nominative form? No, it's the other way around. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is the other way. Yeah.
Okay, it's, you know what? My Anglo-Saxon is better than my early modern English. Which, again, a weird thing about me. Sorry. But hey, I super aced Old English class. But let's keep going.
Old English is fun.
It
Old
is
English
fun.
is fun. I'm never gonna forgive the Normans for ruining our language.
Oh yeah, with introducing words like "are" and "they." Oh no, that was the Vikings. Sorry, I'm a little too
No, yeah.
drunk
I'm
to
okay.
figure it out.
I was okay with the Vikings. It was the stinking French.
No, I still object to the Vikings introducing words like "are" and "they." Nope.
I'm far less than that I am the French. The French they were like, rules? What rules?
But then again, it's the reason why I have words like beef and pork, because those are straight from Norman French.
Yeah, true.
And the weird thing is, a lot of people forget that it's Norman French and not the French that it eventually turned into Parisian French. I'm like, but it doesn't sound like French. It's like, yeah, that's because it was never Parisian French. I'm sorry that Old French had more than one dialect.
Of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. The devil is the father of the lies.
Okay, let's say
And
that's
this is
true.
a lie that
Let's say the devil is the father of lies. You haven't demonstrated that this is a lie. You have to start there, Kent. You can't just start with X is a lie. You have to start with, people say X, here's why it's wrong, therefore it's a lie. Let me continue on and say it's from the devil. You are starting way ahead of the game.
birds are dinosaurs. It is
Also,
ridiculous.
real quick, can we talk about how every single instance of the word ye is wrong? Real quick. It bothers me. I hate that because there is no ye. It was a mistranslation. It developed out of a misinterpretation of the thorn.
So, okay, that's for the
really bothers.
That's for the article, right? That's why you get like ye old ice cream shop with the two P's and the E.
Right.
So ye as a second person pronoun is not made up. That is actually accurate.
I can't.
But the ye
I was thinking
old,
that
the ye as a standard for the happened because when typesetting was first introduced to England, there was no thorn character because typesets basically just came from Italy.
Right.
And so
yeah.
They would just put the Y was the closest thing they had to a thorn character. And the was still being spelled Thorn E at the time in handwriting, but Thorn had become slightly different. It had become one descender on the left, with then one loop that came up to meet the descender that wasn't also an ascender at the top, which was close to the italic version of Y in most typesets. So they
Right,
just
yeah.
started replacing the Thorn with an italic Y and then an E, but then people started misinterpreting that typesetting convention as a Y, which is what it actually was, even though it was a stand-in for a Thorn. But ye as a second-person pronoun is actually an authentic English word that derives from the actual English second-person plural pronoun.
Yeah, it derives from the old English "gi."
Yeah, which was probably pronounced ye
yeah.
anyway, because Old English like to use
Yeah.
J for the Y sound. Or G, yeah, G
Well,
for the Y sound.
but the old English second person pronoun was spelled with what we modern have as G, not with J for yeah.
It was still pronounced y. Like a lot of times, GE in Old English actually sounds like y. Like in the opening of
you're right. It's because there's an assimilative property to it.
Yeah. So like
yeah.
Like it's a common prefix for a lot of verbs. You actually get it in the opening to Beowulf, where one of the verbs is Gefrunon, but it's spelled Gefrunon. Gefrunon.
Right.
So it's complicated and stupid, but technically this use in the King James is correct. Which makes sense because it was people writing in the common language of the time. So they should get it right.
Right. Yeah, 1600s. That being said, his is still extremely
it's still not
simplified.
And it's not a great translation, but
stupid lie, and you fell for it because it got told over and over again. One of the big 10 in the 10 Commandments was, "Thou shalt not bear false witness." Don't lie.
Oh my!
Just a couple days ago, I googled. As a general rule, the most effective big lies are outrageous enough to be unbelievable, yet appeal strongly to the prejudice of the listener, and as are stated in a bland, as matter-of-fact terms as possible. Just, oh yeah, birds are dinosaurs. Just state it like it's a fact, and people start to believe it. It is sometimes even more effective to string several big lies together in a series of talking points. Mr. Nelson, you are a master at that right there. You are really good at it.
He just recently said that he thought that Aron Robb believes these things, which means he's not lying. Lying involves intentional deceit. If you do not intend to deceive, you are simply mistaken if you are wrong. If I honestly believe that the world is 6,000 years old, and I tell you it's 6,000 years old, but I'm wrong about that, I have not lied to you. I am simply mistaken. So I don't know why Kent is going back and forth between Aron Ra is being honest and he's lying. I think it's probably because Kent is
both
lying.
fit his.
Oh well, yeah, both. Fit.
Oh yeah, Kent's lying out of his ass, but it's because it fits his narrative.
That is true.
All this is just to build a narrative against Aron.
Yeah.
Big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. This is from a Jewish website, jewishvirtuallibrary.org. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's right-hand man.
My goodness,
if you tell the lie
it's not how you pronounce that.
People will
okay, hold on. I have to laugh because Warlord Pliskin was talking about getting some sushi, and then Maya made a joke about lactation, but it totally was taken the wrong way, and I'm sorry that I was gonna start laughing either way. Thanks, Maya, that was great, and thanks Warlord Pliskin for being here. Like and subscribe if you like the whole thing, and subscribe to Chris too. So yeah, sorry, chat got me a little bit. I'm gonna calm down. Here we go.
Eventually come to believe it.
Oh,
The
real
lie
quick,
can be maintained only for such
Kent.
time as the
Real quick for Kent, it's Josef Goebbels. It's German.
You know,
O umlaut.
I agree with you, but I expect far less of Kent than getting German pronunciation right. And also, oddly enough,
Oh, yeah.
there's a segment of the population in the United States that is kind of like, why are you bothering to pronounce German words correctly? Like at one point, I said the word Rammstein, and someone was like, "Do you mean Ramstein?" I was like, "No, I don't, because that's not how it's pronounced." And like, it is if you're an American, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry that I went to the effort to try and get it approximately correct with my stupid English or American accent. So there's a part of the population out there that apparently thinks that you shouldn't even attempt to get German words right. So I don't know.
I know that population. Unfortunately, I live in it. Say they're the kind of people that will tell you, if you don't speak English, go home.
I mean, but the thing is, like, I obviously speak English. I just also am at least somewhat aware of the pronunciation of other languages. Like, apparently, I'm also
Yeah,
one of
but
the.
Murica.
Well, yeah. Apparently, I'm also one of the few English speakers who pronounces tsunami with the T at the beginning. Because I see all these memes about how the T is silent in tsunami, and I'm like, not when I say it. But whatever. I don't
Yeah,
even when I say it's tsunami, I pronounce the U like an English speaker. I don't say it's tsunami. Like with no roundedness for the U.
I I get crap all the time for pronouncing, like everyone likes to pronounce aunt as in like your like your aunt Rebecca or
Oh,
whatever
but you say it
as
aunt,
aunt,
don't
but
you?
I say aunt,
Yeah, well, I do too, but that's
and it
because I'm
comes
from New England.
yeah I say it because I'm from German Michigan, where
Yeah.
everyone still spoke German and they go to church speaking German.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
just like Dwight said to Angela, it's not my fault you don't speak German. I've been telling you to take it for years. That was after he legally married them without her knowledge. Yeah. More Kent.
the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. We can only keep this lie up as long as we can keep the people from learning about the consequences of it. It thus becomes virtually important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.
Oh, Maya asked a question about the whole why versus thorn thing, and I think we mostly covered it. So Maya, try to go back a little bit, but basically, the long and short of it is, at one point, the English started importing Italian typefaces for their printing presses. There was no letter for thorn, which led to two different things. One is, at first they started replacing thorn with Y because it was similar to the way people were writing thorn at the time. And it also eventually just kind of led to the deletion of the letter thorn from the English language. So I hope that clears it up in kind of a simplified way. And more Kent.
Whoa, stop and focus
Also,
on that for a
wait,
minute.
hashtag bring back the thorn.
Oh, Ben, I have a friend on Facebook, and I taught him about thorn back when we were both in the Navy. And now every time we talk on Facebook, whether on each other's public walls or private messages or whatever, we always replace every instance of TH with a thorn. That's just our thing.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Hitler said, we're telling, he didn't say it, Hitler and Joseph implied here, we're telling the people the Jews are the enemy. The Jews are the cause of all the world's problems. It's perfectly righteous to kill the Jews. And they did, a whole bunch of them. And they kept telling that lie over and over.
At least
and
he's
over.
not
And
a Holocaust nihilist. I'll give him that.
We're lying.
He
And
could,
at least he's that.
yeah, he could be a lot worse.
The truth was the enemy of Hitler's regime, wasn't it? So I Googled, are birds dinosaurs? It is unbelievable. 217 million hits.
That's a lot.
217 million articles about birds are dinosaurs.
And you're not going to address a single one,
The
Kent.
propaganda is intense, folks. Birds evolved from a group of meat-eating dinosaurs called theropods. That's the same group T-Rex belongs to. Although birds evolved from small theropods, not huge ones like T-Rex. Oh, that'll help. The oldest bird
does
fossils
help,
are
actually,
around 150 million years old, but over time, birds lost their teeth and evolved beaks.
I'm actually going to slightly disagree with this probably Wikipedia summary and say that the acquisition of beaks and the loss of teeth don't have to be sequential events, because there's nothing about keratinizing the premaxilla and parts of the maxilla coating or kind of epidermis or whatever that requires teeth to not be present. You can have teeth and a beak at the same time. It's entirely possible that many of the toothed birds that we have in the fossil record also had beaks, but because keratin does not fossilize well, we simply don't have direct evidence of it. So,
Yeah.
and that's not Kent's fault. I'm actually going to give that to whoever was writing this summary, which I'm not sure who it was. Probably Wikipedia. But yeah, it is, in fact, many dinosaurs are known to have had beaks and teeth at the same time, like almost every ornithischian ever. So, I just want to put that out there, that's a slight error here on the biology. I don't think it really terribly affects the message that's being put out by whoever wrote this, but yeah, minor correction. More Kent.
Nobody has ever seen any animal ever change into a different kind of animal.
Well, part of that, Kent, is because evolution doesn't expect that to happen. So in my debate with Kent, I gave this analogy, right? I said, suppose you sent an email to two different people that had an attachment of a Word file. And in that Word file, you had typed a random letter. And your instruction to each of them was type a random letter following mine in this attachment and send it to two more people. And we're just going to assume that for some reason you have a group of friends on your email list and they have a group of friends on theirs that are super okay with chain letters, because that's what this is. And so each of them types a new letter at the end of the chain and then sends it to two more people. Okay? So every time this letter is sent to someone and they type a new letter, a new clade has formed, right? But if you look at the previous letters, you can always tell the exact ancestry of that group. So if Kent randomly typed A on his first letter that he sent out, every single other version of this Word document is going to start with the letter A. And if one of the friends typed the letter Q and the other one typed the letter M as their second letter, then exactly half of these subsequent, Word documents are going to start AQ, and the other half will start AM, and so on down the line. You're never going to get to a point, if everyone follows the instructions, where you erase the A or the Q or the M or any of the subsequent letters. So all you can do is compound additional differences on top of the previous similarities that already existed. So when the first bilaterian animal evolved, it wasn't a new kind of thing. It was still an animal. But now it was bilaterian, and it probably looks something like a modern fluke worm or flatworm, but probably not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then when it diverged into protostomes and deuterostomes, it's not because it became a new thing. It was still bilaterian, but the primitive first bilaterian probably had a two-wide digestive system where there wasn't a mouth or an anus. There were just two ends, and it could eat out of either of them and pass food through to the other end. Because if you just have a simple, straight gut where digestion takes place along the whole tract, then what real difference is there between the mouth and the anus? Right? Like, there really isn't. And you're also probably not doing a great job of digesting your food. So the stuff that comes out the other end probably is pretty similar to stuff that went in the first place. But if you diverge such that you now have a one-way digestive tract, and originally you had a two-way, well, one group can have one end be the front end, and the other group can have the other side be the front end. And that seems like that's what happened between protostomes and deuterostomes. So your mouth as a deuterostome is actually homologous to the anus of a squid. Sorry. But at no point did they stop being bilaterians, because they're still bilaterally symmetrical. And that goes all the way through every single clade. So humans they're metazoans, they're eumetazoans, they're bilaterians, they're protostomes, they're coelomates, they're on and on and on and on and on, all the way until you get to Homo, and then they're Homo sapiens. And at no point did they stop being any of the previous things. So I really, really hate this whole one kind becomes another thing, because it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how evolution works.
Never been observed. This is so far from science. This is in the fairy tale world. But they keep telling it over and over. This is the illusion. They think it's true. They've heard it all their life. Are birds dinosaurs or reptiles? Birds are part of a group called Diapsida, which also includes all other living reptiles. Crocodiles, turtles, tortoises, and squamates, mostly snakes.
Oh my goodness. So this isn't Kent's fault. This is whoever wrote this. But tuataras are squamates. They're just not lizards, which snakes are. Snakes are lizards. All lizards are squamates. So are tuataras. And I know that this is a technical point, but I wish Google was better at it. So I'm going to let it continue, because he's actually now, finally, with 4 minutes to go, getting into the point.
And lizards. These evolved over the next 65 million years into modern birds. So birds aren't just closely related to dinosaurs, they really are dinosaurs. Wake up and smell the coffee, son. This is retarded.
Okay, well, despite the somewhat objectionable use of the word retarded, Kent, you have to present evidence that birds aren't diapsids in order to conclude that they aren't diapsids, and you have to present evidence that they aren't dinosaurs. I already showed you, by actually showing you an actual photograph of a real bird skull, that birds actually have both of the fenestrae that make a diapsid. They have the superior and inferior temporal fenestrae. That's literally what a diapsid is. You got those two holes in your skull, you're a frickin' diapsid.
Yes. Well, yeah, why do they say dinosaurs are extinct?
Well, most people who are being careful, Kent, don't say that dinosaurs are extinct. They say that non-avian dinosaurs are extinct, because it's true, every dinosaur that isn't a bird is extinct. Hello, kitty.
Chickens are closely related to dinosaurs, and other insights from the new bird family tree.
From 5 years ago.
We'll get into more of that next time. I just want you to see, the idea is incredibly stupid, and I'll show you biologically and morphologically it's not possible that birds are dinosaurs, but we'll get into that tomorrow. But the idea that people can believe something so dumb is a psychology phenomenon. And it's happened all through
Okay, can we actually
millions of
coin a whole new fallacy specifically for Kent?
I mean, why not?
I think we should call it the argument. I think we should call it the argumentum ad stupidum. If you argue it's stupid long enough, then it's going to be stupid. Like, you argue from saying it's stupid. That's it.
I mean,
that's his argument.
It really is. It's just, this thing is stupid because I say it's stupid. And if I say it's stupid often enough, you'll believe it. Almost like Hitler with those lies you were talking about. Because almost this entire video has just been Godwin's Law.
Times. Dictators rely on this. politicians running for office rely on this. Oh yes, if you vote me in, everybody will have a new car in their garage. Matter of fact, they have a new garage and a new house attached to it. Don't they do that kind of stuff? Promise all kinds of things? People believe the lie. Oh, if we vote for him, we're going to be rich. If you believe that, you need some serious, serious help, okay? So, Mr. Nelson?
I actually agree with Kent. If you vote for anyone because he says he'll make you rich, you're an idiot. No politician is going to make you rich. I'm sorry. Unless you're already rich, then one of them might make you richer, but not in any way that's ethically acceptable. So, Kent's not entirely wrong here. Good job, Kent.
I told you, I'll be back.
Too bad it's not on topic, though.
Humans are not apes, birds are not dinosaurs. You have been completely blindsided and baffled. You've told the lie and heard the lie so long, you've come to believe it.
Then prove it's a
I'm here to
lie,
help,
Kent.
son. I'm here to get you out of this illusion. Wake up. You're in La La Land.
So here's the thing. I did not grow up believing that birds are dinosaurs. I didn't. If what Kent says is true, that all that it takes is for you to just hear it over and over and over again, then you're going to believe it. Well, almost no one under the age of 40 has always heard that. Now, people growing up now, like my nephew, who I introduced to feathered dinosaurs through Accurate Toys, and who now apparently draws pictures of feathered dinosaurs and goes on about how birds are dinosaurs and is really excited by that fact, or my nieces, who every time I see them tell me about the last time they saw a dinosaur, meaning the last time they saw a bird. Okay, one, that makes me super proud as an uncle. But two, I could accept that they believe this in part simply because they've been told it. But that wasn't the case for me. When I was growing up, this wasn't an obvious fact that birds were dinosaurs, that everyone was teaching, because it hadn't really entered the public consciousness. Like, layman-level paleontology books didn't really make a big deal out of this fact. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that Wikipedia removed the daggers from clades leading to birds, like Theropoda or Maniraptora or Coelurosauria. Because in Wikipedia, when you look at an animal group, if some of the clades are extinct, it puts a dagger next to them, like that punctuation mark. But it got rid of those not that long ago for groups like Dinosauria, because they're not extinct. There are dinosaurs out there. So this whole thing, this idea that this has just been the way that everyone's teaching it, is a very recent thing. And I feel like Kent doesn't realize that.
Well, Kent doesn't realize 99% of any trends, though, in academia of any kind.
Well, you got a point there.
He was never he was never a part of it. He's never had ties to it. He's never had an ability to have ties to it, really. I mean, especially because any people who are actually academics have ostracized him. Even fellow creationist academics have ostracized him.
Ken Ham's organization has an entire page about arguments that creationists shouldn't use. And a good portion of them are arguments that Kent does use. Which I would think would be embarrassing, but I feel like Kent is so much of a narcissist that he has no sense of embarrassment.
Well, it plays into his victim complex.
Well, that too. Because the other creationists, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's because people, particularly in the creationist camp, are really, really into playing up a victim card. And anyone that goes against them gives them that ability.
Yeah. Which I guess would even include
it just reinforces what they already believe.
Which I guess would even include other creationists.
Yeah. Because what they'll do is they'll lump other creationists into a camp of being false believers and stuff that are accusing them, and they'll go to Revelation and all sorts of other places to try and back this up.
Well, that reminds me, something that Paulogia mentioned maybe a year ago was that Ken Ham has shifted a significant amount of his rhetoric towards quote-unquote liberal Christians, as opposed to rather than opposing atheism. And I think that's because Ken Ham has realized that it's not really atheists that are giving creationists the biggest run for their money. It's Christians who aren't stupid.
Yeah. One of the biggest targets of his has been Dr. Peter Enns, who's a Old Testament scholar. Highly suggest him, actually. One of his books, The Bible Tells Me So, basically tells you everything you need to know about why you should not be reading it literally. And he has been the consistent target of Ken Ham. Ken Ham's gone out of his way to call him a false Christian who's leading people down the path of unrighteousness and all that good jazz.
Well, of course, and I assume he is actually a professing Christian.
Oh yeah, he's a devout, mostly from the Lutheran camp.
Okay.
But he's a very devout Christian. But he'll also be the first to tell you that, if you're trying to sit there and read a story about people having a discussion with a snake in a garden, you're believing in a fairy tale. And my own professor actually said he's a Methodist preacher, very devout Christian. He said in front of his congregation, if you believe that the earth is 6,000 years old and that humans talked with snakes, then you are believing a fairy tale.
Well,
he said that to his congregation.
I mean, that's I respect him for that. That's not an easy thing to say to your congregation, unless, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's probably not an easy thing to say to your congregation, but yeah, I'm not going to say that you can't believe a snake talked to a human as some kind of miracle, because again, I don't divulge my religious standing on whether or not miracles happen or whatever, but you definitely can't believe that that's just a normal event, and the world simply isn't 6,000 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for a little bit more Kent. We've only got about 2.5 minutes left of his rambling, so...
Okay, you're in the Matrix. Watch that cat. What happened to the cat?
Oh, hey, pop culture reference from
no
20 years ago.
Yeah, there is a spoon. Okay, we'll talk more about that tomorrow night. Don't be brainwashed. Read the Word of God, do what it says, listen carefully. The Bible says you're a sinner, you need to be saved. And you can be. It's so simple. God made the world.
All right, so I'm not actually going to play the rest of his 2 minutes because it's just going to be proselytizing. And in addition to me not generally divulging my personal religious views, I'm also not going to let other people proselytize on my channel just cuz. So I'm pretty sure that's what the rest of this 2 minutes are going to be. So we're not going to have that because, you know what? I have my own personal opinions, and if you know me personally, you can ask me about them. But if you don't, then as far as this channel is concerned, I do not care at all if you are a Christian or an atheist or an agnostic or a Muslim or a Hindu or Baha'i or Sikh or whatever. I'm not here to convert you out of any of those positions. I am simply here to point out that science has made actual discoveries and you can't simply dismiss them. And if those discoveries conflict with certain aspects of your faith, then yes, I want you to change those aspects. But I don't want you to stop believing in Jesus. I don't want to stop you believing in Krishna. I don't want you to stop believing in Muhammad or Allah or Buddha or whatever. Not why I'm here. So that's why I'm stopping here.
And I want to add that I am also completely in line with that. I mean, I am very public about what my personal takes are, but I never have had any goal to deconvert anyone. And in fact, in the past, I have actually strongly advised against it in some cases.
Fair enough. So, and yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I've had I hope he doesn't hate me for saying this, but I've had a guy bent on my previous two Kent, I guess, hate watch videos. Bent is a Christian, and he only recently came out of, I guess, old Earth creationism. Bent, when I first met him, was a young Earth creationist. But because he was interested in things like space and sci-fi, he watched and read a lot of cosmology, astrophysics, and stuff like that. And he became an old Earth creationist. And then, through some help of mine, but also watching Kent videos and realizing how bad he was, and having people, including myself and Aron and Bill Ludlow, explain how evolution actually worked and what the evidence actually was, he left younger or old Earth creationism too, and now he's a theistic evolutionist. And you know what? Great. He accepts the science now. And that's all I want. I don't care, from the perspective of this channel, what your metaphysical beliefs are about any holy scriptures or God or whatever. I just want you to stop ignoring the science. There are places where the science hasn't and maybe even can't go. And in those places, if you have a particular belief, if it disagrees with me or agrees with me, that's fine. Because you know what? I hold beliefs that I probably can't justify from a strictly logical or scientific standpoint. And that doesn't bother me either.
Yeah. I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
There are a ton of them that we simply cannot justify with any logical method. Logically, we can't even justify our own existence.
I mean, yeah. And we can even less justify the existence of anything else besides ourselves.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Look, I'll go this far. Philosophically, I'm an American school pragmatist when it comes to philosophy. I have a lot of philosophical beliefs that I believe simply because they allow me to function in a way that I consider to be more optimal than if I didn't believe them. It's like my belief in free will. I have absolutely no logical justification for it. But you know what? I feel like it allows me to function a little bit better in terms of my ethical reasoning than if I believed in determinism. And because I can't logically prove either one to my satisfaction, I go with the one that makes it easier for me. There you go. That's my whole justification. It's more convenient. Now, if you could prove one or the other to me, then okay. Because you can prove it, I would go with it. But because I have not been convinced totally, I'm still sticking with the easier one. And you know what? If you believe that, say, Jesus is the Son of God, or Muhammad is the last prophet, or whatever, because it makes your entire life make sense, or it allows you to make further conclusions that you find useful, as long as you accept the science, that's fine. Although, as far as the Muhammad thing goes, I will say maybe you shouldn't marry a 6-year-old and then consummate the marriage at 9. So I'm going to go ahead and say there's that exception to my previous statement. But that's the only exception I can think of right now. Maybe don't rape children. Which actually, I had a whole conversation about that with a Muslim, and he was like, "Oh, she was his wife." And I'm like, "Yeah, but she's 9. I don't care. Like, you're not going to convince me that a marriage ceremony made that okay. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't care what ceremony happened."
There is even in that day that would have been suspiciously young.
Actually,
even in that day,
the evidence from the primary sources, which are really sort of like 1.5 sources rather than primary or secondary, but even from the closest thing that we have to primary sources, the major contention was that her father was actually Muhammad's blood brother by sworn oath, which by the Arabian incest taboos at the time would have actually made her his niece, which would have been outside the realm of marriageable options. But Islam said that only blood relations count, including for adoption, which also excused Muhammad's marrying of his adopted son's ex-wife. Because he also married his adopted son's ex-wife. And then after he did that, declared that adoption didn't count either.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm completely unfamiliar with Quranic and Islamic history for the most part.
Oh,
My knowledge of Arabian history is pre-Islamic almost exclusively.
so a lot of people point
So
to the scandalous history of the popes, and there's a lot of scandal in there. But if you want to find some real scandal, look into the actual Islamic sources, because there's plenty. Yeah, like not that long ago, a British woman was arrested for illicit sex in Dubai for accusing a waiter of raping her in the bathroom.
I did see that one actually.
Yeah,
I did see that.
Here's where that goes back to. So at one point, Muhammad's favorite wife, the one he, consummated the marriage with at 9 years old, she and her camel fell behind the rest of the caravan that Muhammad was in. And one of his followers stayed back to help her get up to the rest of the group. At which point, he was accused, or they were both accused, of having had sex, because, of course, anytime a male and a female are out of sight of anyone else, the only thing they could be doing is banging. Obviously.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I've literally never been.
We'll repeat it a bunch of times and people will believe it.
Yeah, I've literally never been around a female of the same species as me and not had sex with her unless there was a third person present. It's just never happened, obviously. But anyway, so then Muhammad came up with a rule that, in order to prove a rape case, because the idea was that, in order to prove any illicit sex case, you had to have either an admission of sex. So if either party says, oh yeah, I totally had sex, then okay, that's fine. Or you had to have 4 male witnesses to the event. So what that has turned into is, if you admit to having been raped, you admit to having had sex, but in order to prove that you didn't want it, you have to have 4 male witnesses that say that you objected. But I don't know, I guess I haven't taken a big survey of all the rapes that have ever happened, but I feel like most of them didn't take place in front of an audience that wasn't okay with the rape.
Yeah.
Especially a male audience that wasn't okay with the rape.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I'm not, as someone studying history, it's not my place to pass my modern judgments onto the past. But that's still really... Ooh.
No, I agree with you.
That's still, in any modern context, that's inexcusable.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is that idea is still used in modern contexts because of that. But you know what? That's super off topic, and I don't want to get into my problems with Sharia law on this channel, because this channel is it's not mostly, it's supposed to be about the science, and that's way off topic, which means I think it's probably time to sign off from this live stream. This has actually gone a bit over what I expected, but that's okay. I really hope you liked it. Please, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed to me or Chris on Biblical History Skeptics,
Biblical History Skeptics.
And it's plural, skeptics, right?
Yep.
Okay. If you haven't subscribed to either of us, please do hit the bell icon so you get notified when we upload new things. And if you didn't like it, then you know what I'm going to say? Subscribe anyway and leave us lots of dislikes and hate comments. Because I like hate comments and dislikes at least as much as I like likes and attaboy comments. So, and honestly, if you have criticism, I want to hear it. I might not agree with you, but yeah, I want to hear why did you hate it? So, yeah, I've left a link to Chris's channel in the description. I've left a link to the original for this video in the description. And Chris, do you have anything else you want to plug?
You can find me on Twitter, Biblical History Skeptic. That one is
Singular?
I believe is. Let me look.
Okay.
Is it singular? Yes, it's the Biblical History Skeptic, and then there's a bunch of flags next to my name.
One's German, isn't it?
Yeah, first German, second Danish, third American, and then fourth is LGBT.
Okay.
There's also pumpkin in there as well.
That's one of the places where I'm gonna go ahead and side with Mr. Atheist and Kyle and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, you guys, if you can take down the NIFB, I'm not gonna complain about that. So
I actually talked with an NIFB member. Kinda.
I had someone come soul winning from the NIFB to my door because Stephen Anderson's church is just outside Phoenix. Yeah, well, I live in Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm in the target area for them.
Oh, I am I am about 2 hours away, 2 or 3 hours away from Cupcake.
Okay.
What's his name? Matt Powell.
Yep.
Powell. We call him Cupcake.
Yep, I'm aware.
I'm about 3 hours away from him.
Nice.
I'm
like 20 minutes away from Stephen Anderson's church. I'm so close.
That is too close for comfort, man.
Yeah, well, when I got soul wind at, in quotes, I was just like, oh my god, I do not want to deal with this. But luckily, it's only been a one-time thing so far. I think they snuck past the gate to my, where I live. Because there's a gate to get in, so... But, yeah, now I've doxed myself more than I need to. Does anyone want my address? Just kidding. I'm not going to give you that. Yeah, so... Yeah, the NIFB is far closer to me than I want. But, yeah, so definitely subscribe, or follow, I guess is what you do on Twitter. Follow Chris at Biblical Skeptic, right? Or Biblical History Skeptic.
Biblical History Skeptics.
All right. And I am at Dinosaur_Dapper because Twitter is stupid. But the name that appears on my tweets is usually Dapper Dinosaur, so subscribe there. You can find the link on my YouTube channel, and you can find the link to your channel or your Twitter feed on your channel too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, follow both of us, subscribe to both of us, and I've had a lot of fun. Thank you, chat. Thanks, Bent, for showing up. I'm pretty sure Duke showed up. I saw Maya. Thank you so much. I'm sure Nikki was here. Which, by the way, give a shout out to Nikki because Nikki's great. And I'm almost certain that she watched. She's been on the Rum and Coke night with both of us. So, yeah.
And I think my co-host Brian showed up as well for a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I mean, honestly, thank you everyone who has shown up. Every single view and like and whatever helps. There was someone who was active in the chat. I want to double check the name. Warlord Pliskin. Thank you very much. I really hope that your first name is actually Snake. Because, yeah, exactly. You got it. There you go.
Yeah, I got that.
Chris knows who Snake Pliskin is. All right. Well, I'm going to head offline. I'm going to hit this. Here we go. Stop streaming.